Pokemon Pocket TCG has taken the mobile gaming scene by storm. And that may be because of the addicting pack opening simulator, but I've been finding it far more stimulating to get into the actual battling. And since they just announced that there's going to be a competitive ladder, I knew I had to take a moment to show off some of what these games can really offer. So after I finished bullying these children, these actual bots on the ladder, I was able to make my placements and get put into ranked. But before that, here what I'm going to be playing is what I like to call mid-fighting, because it doesn't swing for huge amounts of damage, it swings for pretty decent chunks using Lucario as its base like playmaker. You take this stage 1 and you're able to boost all of your fighting type Pokemon by 20 additional attack points. Now 20 damage doesn't seem that significant, and that's because it's not. A lot of the stage 1s do 20 damage base just off the rip off of one energy, but that means that this does 20 on top of it, basically doubling their damage. And that goes doubly as well whenever I'm going to be playing some pretty decent mid-range attackers, specifically Primeape, one of my favorite cards inside this game. That's partially why I also call this deck Aping Out, because as soon as you set this guy up, he swings for 50 damage, 70 with Lucario, which means that on 2 turns, he's able to swing for 140 damage, and that's well above what a lot of the normal EXs and other boss monsters that people try to put up do. A lot of like really important stage 1 EX monsters sit around 130 HP to 140, so putting Primeape up on the board with a Lucario in the back row to boost him is a serious threat. And on top of that, we're also going to be running Sudowoodo. He says that he does 20 normally. Like I said, that's the basic normal attack. But he does 30 additional damage against your opponent's EX Pokemon. That 30 additional damage makes him round up to 50, then an additional 20 with your Lucario. So Sudowoodo does not look threatening, but he is equally as threatening if you're going second, because then you get that energy bonus and you're able to start swinging right away. Whether it's 20 or 50, it doesn't matter because you're trying to be aggressive. I mean really aggressive. So that means that your turn 1 is typically going to be trying to put down Mankey, so that whenever it turns back to you, you're able to start swinging for 50 and get that evolve on into Primeape, and then just start aping out, put them into the mosh pit. And if they ever try to threaten your Primeape, you hit them with this guy. Now, earlier whenever I was calling this mid-range fighting, that was because you don't have really any explosive, gigantic plays like that, except for Marshadow. Sure, you could do 140 damage with your Primeape, but there are a lot of other bulkier Pokemon that you can't really get through, and that's where Marshadow comes in. He really is able to close the gap between whatever damage you've been able to put up and whatever damage you need left. Because whenever one of your Pokemon dies, e.g. Primeape, Sudowoodo, any of them, Marshadow comes in and he swings for 100. Or, if you have multiple Lucarios, up to 140. That means that he could just one-shot an EX if they decide to switch in on him, or if worse comes to worse, he already swings for 40 without the revenge, meaning that he can swing for 60, equally as much as Lucario, or even 80 if you have 2 Lucarios on board. And because this is Pocket TCG, we gotta run our staples, we got the research, we've got the Pokeballs. This makes it hyper consistent. The only pieces that you could really change up on are these 2. I put in Sabrina because it genuinely comes up. Putting your opponent onto positions where they don't want to be, that are untenable, is what this deck is all about. You're trying to be hyper aggressive. And I mean so aggressive that this helps close another one of your gaps. Red lets you do an additional 20 damage to your opponent's EX Pokemon. Now, that's not significant, but it does reach a lot of thresholds that your opponent's EX Pokemon may be at. And that is extremely important. It just takes a bit of math. Now, in all honesty, I don't expect this deck specifically to be able to get to the top. There's a lot of matchups that it can't hit, but I do want to see how far I can take it. But that's the deck breakdown. So let's start getting into some matches, because these first few that I had were perfect examples of what the competitive Pokemon scene looks like. There's other decks that are very aggressive. They try to stall you out, do those little bits of 20 damage, but I was just able to be way more aggressive. This first match against Bullthrops, I end up, well, losing the coin toss, but it's in my favor. I'm able to show off the sequencing that I was talking about, I was really thinking about whether I wanted to start turn 0 with the Sudowoodo on board or with the Mankey. I didn't immediately have Primeape in hand, so I wasn't entirely sure if I wanted to put up the Mankey first, because if I did, then I don't mind taking a little bit of damage. But on reveal, I see that it's Weezing, and I was like, okay, this one's in the bag. They think they're aggressive with their poisons and things, but that's why I call this the Mosh Pit. The switching out will remove a status, such as Poison, which does damage over time every turn. And then each of my monsters, since they only need 1 energy to really do their damage, they're able to shake off that poison, get in for another 50, get in for another 50, and just keep on laying on the pressure. It really is just throwing them in the mosh pit. There's tons of bodies coming at them, smacking them about the face and neck. But first thing is first, sequencing. Of course, you run out the Pokeballs, those are your Rotas. You're going to see what kind of basics you could start putting onto the board immediately. And there goes my boy Marshadow, that's my real threat. And I also have Sabrina in hand, which means that I can do one of two things. I can either start digging in my deck with Professor's Research to be able to draw 2, or Sabrina to really start putting him into a position where I beat the brakes off of him. Right now, he doesn't know it, but I just pulled him into the mosh pit. Me putting Darkrai into the active spot like that means that it is under immediate threat. I'm able to start swinging for 50 every turn with this Sudowoodo. This Sudowoodo is so funny, man. He just wants all of the smoke. Legendaries, level 3 evolved Pokemon, does not fucking matter. He wants all of that smoke. And it truly shows because they instantly pop the Rocky Helmet, which is going to start counterattacking me. It's going to do 20 damage every time I swing into them, and I'm going to swing into them for 50. The math just don't math out. Even if they try to potion up, it still doesn't math out. They could Nurse Joy in potion up and it wouldn't work. But you see how it works. Darkrai's ability, whenever you attach 1 energy to it, it deals 20 damage to my active Pokemon. It's basically an attack, but it allows you to do other things instead. Extremely strong, extremely annoying. It also means if there's energy on the board that's unspent, he just does a free 20 damage. Incredible monster. Too bad my Pokemon are much more terrifying. I'm still going to just get aggressive on him. I'm going to dig a little deeper, and I'm just going to start swinging. Not much to do. I'm aping out with this tree. The only real thoughts within my head at this point would be when is the best time to be able to really close the gap with this red trainer card. Right now, it's tough to say because there's no immediate way to find the lethal on board. And even without the Weezing inside the active spot, it's still able to activate his ability, similar to this Darkrai. So he's going to try to poison me and do a little bit of extra damage, but it's not enough. In fact, he misplayed hardcore. You should have activated that ability. This Sudowoodo really should be poisoned. What a buffoon, an imbecile even. Either way, it wouldn't matter because I would just switch out anyways. Right here, I'm trying to find the best play. They did not have the energy to put up in order to really get rid of that Darkrai. The best thing to do would be able to switch out on my already set up Marshadow with red to do 60 damage against this Darkrai. I gain 2 of the prize card points, and then it puts them into a position where next turn I could lethal if they don't play it correctly. Because Marshadow still is just an attacker. He doesn't have to get his revenge. He doesn't have to be boosted by Lucario. Just use up that energy. Marshadow's ready to swing. He has no way to kill this Marshadow, even with any sort of trainer card. If he has any trainer cards that augment his attack, any additional ways to do damage, he cannot win the game from this position. So that gives me a chance to switch out to one of my other Pokemon, and then Marshadow could still swing for huge damage. Be able to close that gap between the EX and my little mid-range fighters. Weezing into the active spot, he thinks that's going to save him. Little does he know. Alright, nice poison. Does it make it for men? Right there, I just had to check the damage that he does. 30 plus the 10 from the poison. Even with boss's orders, like I said, if he augments speed damage, it's still not enough to kill Marshadow. And then he's already in the mosh pit. I switch out Marshadow to bounce this guy the fuck back. Start swinging. Even Ape is here. The Ape is ready to even start swinging. There's nothing he can do at this point. He's in the mosh pit. The wall of death is staring him down. All I'm waiting for is to really start putting in lethal with the Lucario. He's dead. He just don't even know it. Brother's losing teeth over here. He has to get rid of the Weezing. He has to. Otherwise, I win right now, right here. But that's the problem, is that even if he kills the Ape, then I can still just OHKO with against the fucking Darkrai. Okay, poison me. Come catch this big mink. Alright, yeah. Retreat. Get out of here. Nice, nice. Put up the Darkrai. Oh, I'm coughing. I'm gonna leave him wheezing. Yeah, what else are you gonna do? I'm literally just gonna swing again. What else could you do? It's already set up. Marshadow's ready to swing again if you kill this Ape. I don't care if he's poisoned. I don't care if you're gonna fucking nightmare him. Go ahead and swing on him because Marshadow's coming back. You have no prize cards. You're already in the mosh pit. You're getting blended, brothers. We're already out here moshing. This combat's real close. I do not know what he's waiting on. Maybe he's just figuring out that he's already lost and he's being honorable. Which is weird about this game, is that not that many people scoop. I guess, like, you're never really out, especially with a lot of these decks that do a lot of coin flippy things. But this one I really enjoy because it's not very coin flippy. It's very consistent. There's a lot of decks that it can lose to because they could just do other unfair things that this one can't do. But to be honest, being able to sack huge Pokemon with Marshadow, beautiful, impeccable. I'll have 13 more. Let me take it to the top. And there goes my boy on screen, Marshadow. Look at him. Look at him swing. That's my guy right there. And then that was my first real competitive match within the ladder. I expect to have a lot more of these. As you can see, I start to go up in rank. These are still my placements. I'm not even inside Pokeball rank yet. But I just really wanted to show that off because I find it to be such a cool and interesting game. Especially that last turn where I said it really, I just gotta swing. I just gotta give him a good mink with the Ape. But that turn could have went so many different ways. I could have switched into the Sudowoodo, try to set that up for him to be inside a different position, but I looked at it in regardless, even if he had Nurse Joy plus a potion giving him 50 extra HP, I would still be able to swing in with the Marshadow, given I have Lucario for 140 and still OHKO to get 2 points. But that's why those 2 flex spots are so important. But yeah, check out the next one as well for more.